Go for it.
Aloha snack bar, everyone. It's the one, the only, the Senor Silverback, alongside the master of the flux capacitor. I'm losing it, CJ. I'm losing it. And we're joined today with none other than the Bankster Slayer, the one who is the mythical master of the esoteric interpretations of all the things that are ritualistic, spiritualistic. And see, this is what happens when I don't have my coffee in the morning. I need more caffeine. You can follow us on roguemoney.net. Check us out on Rogue Money on Twitter at the Rogue Money, as well as the Rogue Money Facebook page. With that being said, and before I stumble and bumble off into another tirade of useless, meaningless introductions, CJ and Bankster, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm one cup of coffee ahead of you. So
I envy. I just started sipping this coffee. Like I went to sleep so late last night, and my eyes are still red, and I still have like they're you know when they're kind of like grainy. You wake up because you haven't had enough sleep, and you just like popped your contacts in, and you're just like, all right.
Yeah.
And all you feel is the graininess and the grit of the contacts on your cornea. I'm like having one of those mornings. But anyway, there's a lot going on, and we have Deb here to join us, Bankster Slayer, to break down Vault 7.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Okay, the facts are what we know. It has come out that the CIA has supposedly lost control of its hacking algorithms, software protocols, and it's out in the wild.
Well, that's good to know.
I mean, that's the story.
Yeah.
I have a little different perspective of all that. But, and what is now is, in fact, one of your Twitter followers yesterday mentioned it. He made a really good point, because we all were saying, well, we all knew this. We all know that smart TVs and cell phones have the capability of spying on you, and that your webcam camera can be turned on without the light even showing. But what your Twitter follower said was, yeah, but now we have the proof of it.
Right.
We know how it was done. And of course, everyone now is saying, well, let's rehash, the death of Michael Hastings. And we all knew at that time. We knew that car had been remotely controlled. And I haven't heard this yet, but I'm sure perhaps we should be talking about all the planes that have been crashing.
Right.
It could be any. I mean, obviously, what is being presented to us is that nothing is safe anymore. And anything that has a microchip in it can be controlled remotely. Anything.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely correct. There's a backdoor to everything, it seems.
Right. Now, the other perspective, my signature mantra ever since the election this year is stand back and look at the forest and don't concentrate on the trees. Look at the broader picture here. And my perspective on this whole thing is that the CIA doesn't care about surveilling on people. They're not like looking to find people committing crimes, us average Joe people done here. And I hinted at this a few months ago when I wrote that blog on our site about myth information and the forbidden fruit. And I talked about that interview with Martina, or who used to be Martin Rothblatt, the founder of Sirius Radio. You can find that interview on YouTube. It was a TED Talk where she was some,
Let's just shim.
Yeah, right. Where she talked about, what I'm not gonna adopt a new pronoun. No.
He's a non-binary, identifying as I don't know.
Well, yeah, and that all feeds into this whole thing. We're watching this gradual revolution of mankind, or it's being directed and imposed on us to move us from transgenderism in most people's minds is when a person chooses to adopt a different the opposite gender, from male to female or reverse. But now there's this the next step in all of this is for mankind to become genderless, to become part of the machine.
Correct. Absolutely right.
And this whole thing, that what the CIA and the NSA are doing, ask yourself, why are they creating this huge database of recordings? And it's mostly recordings, not so much filming you, but recording language. And there's a huge global database that is really trying to learn from the language of billions of people across the planet to create this global universal mind cloud, the mind stream, or as Ray Kurzweil calls it, the singularity.
Right.
And that's really what all of this is about. And the CIA and all these agencies are all part of this network that are all feeding these streams into this global cloud. Well, now what has happened as of yesterday is that, well, before we all knew about this, we all have been passive, involuntary, unknowing participants in this huge project. But as of yesterday, we all now have become active participants in this big project, because now we have seen the machine and the machine has seen us. We are now aware of all of this. So now this is the next stage in that project. Now the machine is watching us to watch our reaction to our introduction to it. So I encourage people, think about what the eventual public reaction is to this story, because all of this is being fed into the mind, this global mind, and we are being directed down this path to become now one with this huge anti-human machine.
No, that makes sense. I mean, there is a life in the wire, so to speak.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, one of the things that, you know, that I do know is that when you look at the internet, look at like Cliff High. We're going to be doing Cliff High in a few hours. One of the things is that Cliff always talks about is a linguistic substrate. He always talks about when you look at everybody projecting every blog that's written, every piece of data that's put together, anything that we project, a Facebook post, a tweet, an Instagram upload, whatever it is, we are putting our data, we are putting not just data, but the essence of who we are as human beings, our thoughts, our ideas, our consciousness, so to speak, online. Okay, and when it's on there, it melds with all other thought processes. It is literally creating a mind. I mean, you look at all the billions and billions and billions and billions of people that are putting billions and trillions of bits of data on the internet on a daily basis. There is a mind that's being formed, an actual mind. And the question that a lot of people have is, at which point does this mind become self-aware? You know, that's the thing that people don't really look into. You know, this is yeah, we're going down the rabbit hole deep here, and you know, this morning, but you know, so grab your extra doses of coffee. So that's the proverbial question: at which point does Skynet become aware? You know,
right?
Yeah.
In a way, you're right, and in a way that is already happening. It's using our awareness, our consciousness is becoming its consciousness, and now, and I didn't even know you're having Cliff High come on today, or are you doing recording an interview with him?
No, we're having him come on today. We're trying to get him and Bix on at the same time, kill two birds with one stone. So that's going to be great.
That is amazing, because I had no idea, but that's really where I was going. I was going to share something in my secular work that I have learned over the last 3 weeks. I work as part of a people crowdsourcing project and I won't talk about the company or anything. You can figure it out if you research it enough. But my work takes me into, shall I say, understanding more of the Google mind. And really, the Google Corporation is such a big part of this whole thing. They're probably not the only corporation, but that is the face of this global mind.
Yeah.
And we all have had the experience that we'll be browsing some product on the internet, and then within a few minutes we start seeing ads for that product appear in our email, application. Now, I have seen something happening over the last 3 weeks that is the next level after that. what I have seen happening in my email and my browsing, my suggested page options, is that I keep seeing objects or concepts pop up for things that I never spoke audibly. I never emailed it. I never mentioned it to anyone, but they were things that I had been thinking about.
Yep, same here. I've had that happen. CJ,
Yep.
how about you?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You should bring that up with Cliff, because what I can see what is happening now, and we all know this from what Cliff has done, what Evolution Consulting does, is that we give away our consciousness subconsciously. You know, it comes out. So the machine now is picking up what our subconscious is thinking just by our audio or browsing, you know, even though we didn't specifically mention that, it has put together the pattern and figured it out. In fact, I was this morning, in fact, I'll tell everyone, here's your homework assignment out there. Go into YouTube and look up any recent interview with Ray Kurzweil.
Sure.
He's one of the answers there. And I picked out one he did recently with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, the physicist.
The guy who's the face of NASA all the time. And he mentioned in there, he said, he was talking about human evolution, and he says the reason why man developed a bigger brain than all the other animals is because man wanted to know how to predict the future, which is really what, you know, the programs like WebBots and then Evolution's software has taken all of that to the next level, is by examining our language, it is predicting the future. And anyone who is able to predict the future can manipulate the future. So this is, you know, this is really all what this whole thing is all about. It's the surveillance and all of that is the cover story, but really what's going on behind that is this huge global planet-wide database is being built of our language.
So
Yeah,
you guys,
no,
CJ.
I was gonna say, yeah, I definitely, agree with that in terms of all of us building a data, footprint, the concept around merging man and machine and giving machine a consciousness. I completely, I definitely agree with that. And I think another perspective, Deb, to look at this is that we look at the amount of corruption that's out there. We look at the amount of things that people get to run for office with the good intentions of accomplishing certain things. And what Vault 7 reveals to us is exactly why that doesn't happen, right? Because the moment that you probably get in elected office is the moment that the entire surveillance starts on you. And eventually they work so many people, and I'm not telling anything people don't know, but basically what happens is then they build a case against this person that the person is compromised so that they have this information that when the time comes right, all of us, not just people there, but all of us, to reveal this information of specifically what they have. And so in other words, when you go to DC and you start advocating for, civil liberties, and you want to get rid of universal health care, or you want to prosecute the pedophiles, is that when they bring this information forth and say, well, here's that, Justice Scalia is a perfect example, meets with Obama says, this is what we have on you. What's going to happen for him, because they mine this data. They have this data in our footprint of the digital things that we are creating. And you look at, for example, what's happening in China, for example, they're actually building, a social media score based upon, our posts and what we do, that's determining everything from, credit ratings to a scorecard on whether or not you're a good citizen. So all this stuff ties directly together.
Yeah, absolutely, man. When you look at the fact that, there's a bigger picture here. Oftentimes, we've heard on so many multiple sources with so many people interviewed throughout the many decades of the whole concept of, and Deb, you can talk about more about this, the breakaway civilization, right? And what the breakaway civilization is all about. And most people get lost in the sauce about, what is it? What really is it? Well, it is basically a society of technocrats and engineers and scientists and those who believe in a specific story of the origin of the human species and how they are select and how they are separate and how they are trying to, quote unquote, get off world,
Right. No, you have hit the nail on the head. That's exactly right. In fact, I was going to mention the word technocracy, and this is something I've been thinking about this, and I know 95% of everyone out there is going to violently disagree with what I am saying here. But what this machine has done is now it is now presenting a picture to all of us that democracy is obsolete, that
Yeah.
we are now being ruled by technocracy, not democracy. And what we also see, and I was thinking how this is the year 2017 and how for 10 years, we have been suffering under this huge financial fraudulent system, and not one banker has gone to jail.
Sure.
And we know why. It's because they all sit above democracy. Or
Right.
listen, it's not even that they pretend to. They do. The law does not apply to them. If the law applied to them, they would be in jail. Therefore, the law does not apply to them.
Right.
And I quote often from this guy who used to work for Kissinger, Rothkopf is his last name. He wrote the book Super Class, and he made the point in there: sovereignty only goes so far. He said the bankers and these international secret societies, they all created this illusion of government that we live under, but they sit above all of that. There's nothing. And I was thinking, yesterday about how there's all this uproar, of course, on the internet, and there should be among people about what is happening. And there's going to be all these petitions signed and calls to your congressman, and none of that will do anything.
Nobody goes to jail.
Nope.
Nobody goes to jail. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. I mean, you could have 1,000,000,001 emails about Tony Fatfinger Podesta.
Yep.
And Joey Skippy Durag Podesta going out there having hot dogs and pizza and kumquats and whatnot, and nobody does anything. Nobody goes to jail. And this is what this is what kills me, is like I'm watching this whole thing. I'm like, somebody needs to go to prison in the next year, within the next year. Otherwise, the ape had it. I'm gonna go ape, Deb. I'm gonna go ape.
No, I know what you mean, and it is this frustration. But even that frustration is what is also being generated by this. They want you to feel that way because we're all coming to the point where we're starting to figure out that democracy was instituted as a tool by the powers that be. In fact, eventually, when I get past all these Antarctica articles I've been writing, I am going to start talking about who was funding the ancient Greek philosophers like Plato. These people were products of the mystery schools of that era to plant the idea of these various forms of government, but all these forms of government were just tools that the ruling class used to create this level of civilization beneath them. So, and if talk about the breakaway civilization, that's where all of my Antarctica articles are kind of headed in that direction, because something I will be writing about in the next Antarctica article is that I stumbled on a group now that really kind of resurrected the Thule Society after World War II. The Thule Society was that group of occultists that kind of morphed into the SS and the Ahnenerbe. And they were the ones who originally made connection with Aleister Crowley at the 1900s to start promoting this idea that we need to build a superhuman race. And of course, right. And being German, of course, they saw where they were going to take ancient wisdom and the ancient legends of really the Nephilim and, the super hybrid race, and combine that with technical, mechanical, advanced technology. Well, that's what's happening now. They're still promoting this idea of achieving immortality by merging man with a machine. And even after World War II, there were groups in Europe that kept this idea going. They didn't call themselves the Thule Society. They changed their name into different groups, and the group they're known today is the Causa Nostra. And it's
Mafia.
You know what though? It's not the mafia. I knew it sounded like that because
It
there's
sounds like
another.
the mob, La Cosa Nostra.
Yeah, it's Causa. Yeah, that's Costa.
Oh,
Costa.
got it. Okay.
It's the word Causa. Causa or cause.
Yes, okay, like
And it
the
was
German part of it.
yeah. Now what's funny? The website for it is all in German, and yet they've adopted a Latin name for themselves. Very
Interesting.
but I'll get into that more. But it shows that this idea was still continually perpetuated, even though we were told officially that the Nazi Party was broken up. Well, it wasn't broken up.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, that's my rant for this morning.
No, very insightful. Very insightful. CJ, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I completely agree in terms of what the whole concept around the data mining and everything with their intentions. There's no doubt that when you look at the amount of information, and it's things that are presented and that were leaked, or things that we already knew, whether it's virtual private networks aren't really virtual private, that the CIA has access to those.
What?
They can.
What do you mean my VPN is not private? What are you talking about?
That pretty much they can, they have a 0-day attack plan that basically they pay companies to keep their software vulnerable to these types of things, so that way they always manifest a backdoor option for them to access any system, whether Windows based.
Not my iPhone.
And moving to the cloud. You know how most of software now is all based in the cloud. So Windows, Apple, everything is no longer centrally stored. So now they're pushing everything away from any type of local data, even making it easier for them to access by putting it all in the cloud. And probably
wait a minute. You're saying my Google Chromebook and my Google G Drive and my Apple iCloud and my Microsoft OneDrive, those are compromised?
No, they're completely secure. They're fine.
Oh God. Oh my God! Because I'm looking at my phones here. I got my iPhone 7 Plus, and I have my Google Pixel XL. I feel they're so secure, CJ. Like, what could possibly happen? Like right now, my keyboard on my Apple Magic Keyboard is bugging out for some strange reason. I don't know why. It's just bugged out. Strange.
Yeah, well, and there's certain programs. For example, on my PC, I do not let anything automatically launch any type of updates and so forth. And there's times that I come in and somehow magically those updates are turned back on. And I don't know what program is doing it, but instantly things starts happening up. But one interesting thing that came about, the whole WikiLeaks thing was, just kind of showing and proving that the CIA uses other hacking techniques and then disguises it. And a perfect example is Russia's, the malware, the viruses, that the CIA will duplicate those viruses and utilize those to try to not leave a footprint of truly who did it. And the perfect example of that in a recent story is that you guys remember, a while back where they made false accusations regarding trying to blame the Russians on this supposedly attack on the electric power grid. You remember that whenever they said that this laptop had this Russian-based attack? Well, that's a perfect example of who carried that out. That was the CIA, attempting that.
They can false flag cyber attacks anywhere.
But unfortunately, what the CIA didn't know was that this laptop wasn't even hooked up to anything.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, man. It's pretty interesting. There's a gentleman. He's an avid technologist and an inventor. He's got something that he's got something that's really unique and remarkable, that is very secure. It allows you to get on the internet very securely, a la Edward Snowden type technology. So it's that's the only things that are secure, my man. That's the only things that are secure. And I think in time we'll eventually have him on and roll out what this is and bring it to the forefront for the average person to utilize and enjoy. I mean, there's with all this stuff, there's always a counterculture to it. I mean, it's incredible. Like, I mean, the whole thing about the CIA saying that its cyber tools have lost control, have completely are out in the wild. It's a bunch of nonsense. It's like losing the launch codes to your nuclear arsenal, or you're losing a bunch of suitcase nukes. This doesn't happen like that. It was intentional. They want this thing out in the wild.
No,
these are saboteurs.
Right. It was engineered that way from the beginning to be that way, to be out there, so that it's not centralized. It's a decentralized system. For all we know, there is probably no way to turn off the internet.
Oh, exactly. No, you can't turn it off. You can't turn it off. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else, Deb?
Well, I was just I was going to say that what we're witnessing, and this goes into what you were just saying, it's the most perfect global expression of the Hegelian dialectic. It's the two opposite poles from which this other order is being merged. So if you all are sitting there thinking that the New World Order has been vanquished, no, it's just that there were different versions of it, but it's still being forged, and it is coming about. And we are being taken along with it because we all know that we're never going to turn off our internet devices. We already can't live without the internet and our smartphones and social media and all that stuff. So they know they have us because we're going to go along with it.
Yeah, I'm totally screwed. I can't stop uploading myself to Instagram. How about you, CJ?
Yeah, I'm hooked. It's probably part of, you look at how much advertising and marketing has taken over social media. It's kind of hard not to utilize as a tool. I think that advertising on television, advertising, radio, other methods will be obsolete probably in 20 years.
Yeah, and it's sad, man, because all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to out Instagram Kim Kardashian, and it's, that's my goal in life.
Good. Yeah, and that's another thing. Because we live in a debt-backed money system, we feel this pressure to go chasing after the next thing to help us make money or help us make an income. Well, that's another thing that's almost pulling us like a magnet to chase after this new technology, because we have in our mind, we've created the system around us. We have accepted a system over us that demands that we have to make money in order to pay for access to the Earth's resources that we need to live, even though all of that was given to us for free. Somehow we have agreed to put ourselves in debt and pay money for something we already own.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And with that being said, I guess we're at the end of the broadcast. I want to thank everybody for listening in. This is a special little vote, the behind the scenes of what's really going on in terms of the Vote 7. And with that being said, CJ, give out your closing comments, you and Deb, and close the thing out.
Go ahead, Deb. Ladies first.
Yeah, for those who want to find me, my little homepage billboard is slaythebankster.com, and you can jump over to the articles I write at roguemoney.net or my little YouTube radio show, The Bee in Eden. And I'll be writing, hopefully at the end of this week or next, the next little episode in my Antarctica series.
Yeah, great series, by the way. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
DJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, just really quick tidbits as far as news. So obviously we learned that in fact it was the Democrats and Tony Podesta who was paid over $170,000 over a 6-month period by Sberbank, Russia's largest bank, to influence any of the sanctions that Russia was putting on. So that's out in the open now. So it was actually Podesta who was paid, and the Democratic, and he obviously everyone know he's a super lobbyist, and he was trying to influence that. So that's one side note. And then the second side note is obviously with this leaked data just kind of proves that in fact that Trump was right, that he was hacked. I think all of us are. That's it, V.
Fantastic. And with that being said, everyone, thank you all for listening in. You can follow us again on Rogue Money at the Rogue Money. You can follow us on Rogue Money at the Rogue. No, follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money. You can check out roguemoney.net and also check out our Rogue Money Facebook page. And also, guys, check out our sponsor if you are suffering from debt. You're being crushed in the throes of depression, and you're thinking about committing suicide because your debtors are after you. God, I shouldn't be laughing at that. But if you feel like you have no options, check out my guys over at myfreedomnow.us. Myfreedomnow.us. Kick the bankers in the nuts by calling them and get free. With that being said, we're over and out. Take it away, CJ.